The winds of change are sweeping across the globe, and the world stands at a crossroads. For decades, the United States has stood as a beacon of power and influence, its empire stretching across continents, its dollar reigning supreme in the markets. But today, that empire is facing its twilight. The rise of new economic powers, the shifting tides of global trade, and the challenges to long-standing institutions signal a profound transformation in the world order. In the halls of power, there are those who deny this reality, clinging to the past with fervor. They speak of tariffs and trade wars, of making America great again, as if the old ways can restore what has been lost. But these are mere echoes of a bygone era, strategies born of desperation rather than vision. The truth is undeniable: the American empire is over. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, have emerged as a formidable bloc, challenging the dominance of the United States and its allies. With the inclusion of new members, this alliance now represents more than half of the world's population and a significant share of global economic output. Their collective strength is reshaping the global landscape, offering alternatives to the old order and redefining the rules of engagement. Yet, even as the world changes, there are those who refuse to acknowledge the shifting tides. They continue to speak of dominance and exceptionalism, of maintaining control and influence. But these are the words of the past, not the future. The future belongs to those who recognize the need for cooperation, for understanding, for building bridges rather than walls. In this new world, the United States must confront its own limitations and acknowledge its place among equals. It must move beyond the rhetoric of superiority and embrace the reality of interdependence. Only then can it hope to navigate the complexities of a multipolar world and contribute meaningfully to the global community. The challenges are great, but they are not insurmountable. With humility, with vision, and with a commitment to justice and equity, the United States can find its path forward. It can lead not through dominance, but through partnership, not through coercion, but through collaboration. The American empire may be over, but the opportunity for a new beginning is at hand. It is a time for reflection, for renewal, and for reimagining what it means to be a global leader in the 21st century. The world is watching, and the time to act is now. Let us rise to the occasion, not with arrogance, but with grace, not with fear, but with courage, not with division, but with unity. For in this new era, it is not the strongest who will prevail, but those who are willing to adapt, to learn, and to grow together. The American empire is over, but the journey toward a just and equitable world is just beginning. Let us walk that path with integrity, with purpose, and with hope. In the heart of this unfolding global transformation, there lies a profound opportunity for renewal and purpose. While the decline of the American empire may seem daunting, it is not a harbinger of despair but a call to action, a summons to rise above the ashes of the old world and build a new one rooted in justice, equity, and shared humanity. The world is no longer beholden to a singular power. The emergence of the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, now joined by Saudi Arabia, Iran, the UAE, Argentina, Egypt, and Ethiopia, signals a paradigm shift in global governance. This coalition represents more than half of the world's population and a significant portion of its economic activity. It is a testament to the collective strength of nations coming together to forge a path independent of historical hegemonies. Yet, this new reality is met with resistance. The United States, in its struggle to maintain its former stature, has resorted to measures that echo the desperation of a bygone era. Tariffs, once tools of protectionism, are now wielded as instruments of division. The rhetoric of making America great again reverberates with the hollow echoes of a past that no longer serves the present. But let us not be swayed by such rhetoric. Let us not be drawn into the quagmire of nationalism and isolationism. For in the end, these are but distractions from the greater truth, that our fates are intertwined, that our destinies are shared. The challenges we face are formidable. Economic disparities, environmental degradation, and social injustices threaten to unravel the fabric of our societies. But within these challenges lie the seeds of transformation. It is through adversity that we discover our resilience, it is through struggle that we find our strength. Now is the time to embrace a new vision. A vision that transcends borders and embraces the common good. It is a vision rooted in cooperation, in mutual respect, in the recognition that we are all stewards of this planet and its resources. Let us not be content with the status quo. Let us not settle for a world divided by walls and wars. Instead, let us strive for a world united by compassion and collaboration. The road ahead will not be easy. There will be obstacles, there will be setbacks. But if we stand together, if we lift each other up, if we remain steadfast in our commitment to justice and peace, there is no challenge we cannot overcome. So, let us move forward with courage and conviction. Let us build a future that reflects the best of our shared humanity. For in the end, it is not the empires we build that define us, but the legacies of love and justice we leave behind. My friends, we must cast off the chains of denial. For no revival, no rebirth, ever came without first facing the truth. And the truth today is not that the world is ending, it is that a certain world, a certain order, has run its course. The American empire, as we once knew it, rooted in the dominance of dollars, the supremacy of markets, and the illusion of invulnerability, is fading like a shadow at dusk. But hear this, and let it stir your soul: endings are not curses. They are clarions. They are trumpet calls from eternity, bidding us to awaken from our slumber, to rise from the ashes of complacency, and to begin again, not in our own strength, not in the pursuit of power, but in the spirit of humility and the vision of something greater than ourselves. Look around you. The nations are stirring. The BRICS alliance, once a mere acronym, now pulses with the heartbeat of the future. These nations are not perfect, but they are rising not to conquer, but to claim their place, to assert their dignity, to reject the arrogance of an outdated order. They are building new pathways. Trade routes that bypass old empires, banking systems that are not chained to Washington, currencies that are not dictated by the whims of Wall Street. Is this a threat? Not if your heart is right. Not if your mind is open. Not if your soul seeks truth and justice over dominance and greed. This is not the death of hope, but its rebirth on a global scale. Some cry out, but we are losing. Losing what? The illusion that we could forever stand above others? Losing the fiction that we were ordained to rule, no matter how we ruled? Let that illusion die, for in its death, something beautiful can live. Let me tell you something: no nation, no empire, no people, no generation has a monopoly on greatness. Greatness does not come from stock markets or missiles. It does not flow from tariffs or tweets. It comes from character. It comes from compassion. It comes from courage. And courage is what we need now. Not the bravado of the insecure. Not the belligerence of the fearful. But the quiet, steadfast courage to admit that the world is changing, and that we must change with it. That we must no longer lead by lording over, but by lifting up. The truth is this: every empire that ever stood thought it would never fall. Rome thought so. So did Britain. So did the Ottomans and the Mongols and the Caesars of old. But they all fell. Not because of enemies without, but because of rot within. Pride. Injustice. Inequality. Corruption. Indifference to the suffering of the people. So, we must search our own hearts and ask, have we built a house on rock or sand? Are we a light to the world, or a shadow over it? My friends, I believe we are not finished. I believe the United States still has a role to play in this new world, but it must be a different role. Not as master, but as mentor. Not as ruler, but as reconciler. Not as the center of gravity, but as one among many stars in a vast, glorious constellation of nations. And to do that, we must first look inward. We must heal the wounds within our own land. Wounds of division, of racial hatred, of economic injustice, of political paralysis. We cannot pretend to lead a changing world while our own house is in disarray. We cannot offer peace abroad while violence festers at home. We must teach our children not to idolize power, but to honor principle. Not to chase wealth for wealth's sake, but to seek wisdom. Not to fear the stranger, but to love them as neighbor. This is how nations endure, not through might, but through moral clarity. There are those who will scoff at this vision. They will say the world is too far gone. That people are too selfish. that nations will never cooperate. But those are the voices of cynicism, and we were not made for cynicism. We were made for hope. For courage. For transformation. I tell you this, we do not need another empire. We need a community. A global community, where power is shared and voices are heard. Where the strong lift the weak, not exploit them. Where wealth is a tool, not a god. Where peace is more than a pause between wars, it is a way of being. We need statesmen, not showmen. Peacemakers, not power brokers. We need leaders who speak not just to the rich and powerful, but who hear the cries of the forgotten, the farmers, the factory workers, the children born into poverty through no fault of their own. This moment is pregnant with possibility. But birth is never without pain. We are in the throes of labor, and the contractions are coming faster now. Economic upheaval. Political realignment. Technological disruption. Climate change. Social unrest. All these are signs not of doom, but of delivery. So let us not retreat into the caves of nostalgia. Let us not yearn for a past that never truly was. Let us not seek refuge in tribalism, or nationalism, or any ism that seeks to divide us. Let us walk boldly into this new day with open eyes and open hearts. For the sun is rising in the east, yes. But it can shine on us all, if we choose to let it. If we choose to let go of our fears and take hold of our faith. Not blind faith in institutions or ideologies, but faith in one another. Faith in the human spirit. Faith in the divine spark that dwells within every nation, every people, every soul. Oh, how the world groans for a new song. A song not of empire, but of empathy. A song not of conquest, but of community. A song not of tariffs and trade wars, but of justice rolling down like waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream. Let that be our song. And let me tell you something else, the gospel of empire cannot save us. The gospel of markets cannot heal us. But the gospel of truth, the gospel of love, the gospel of global dignity, this can redeem us all. So rise up, dreamers and doers, teachers and students, workers and leaders, young and old. Rise up, and refuse to bow to the false gods of fear and greed. Rise up, and build the world that ought to be. Not for the few, but for the many. Not for profit, but for peace. Not for power, but for people. And let us remember that we are not alone. The same spirit that moved in the hearts of abolitionists and prophets, of peacemakers and truth-tellers, still moves today. It is moving now. It is calling us out of comfort and into courage. Out of despair and into destiny. Because the call is not to governments alone. It is not to presidents or prime ministers, to generals or economists only. No, the call is to the people. To you. To me. To all of us who still believe that the course of history can be changed not by the thunder of cannons, but by the courage of conscience. There is a kind of empire that is built not on borders, but on beliefs. And those beliefs must now be tested. Will we believe in freedom only when it benefits us? Will we cherish democracy only when it elects leaders we prefer? Will we honor the dignity of all peoples? Or just those who speak our language, pray like we do, or carry our flag? The American century is passing. But the human century, if we dare to make it so, is just beginning. The age of empires may be closing, but the age of shared destiny is opening like a sunrise across the horizon of history. Let us pause here, for a moment, and consider the word empire. What is an empire, after all? It is the centralization of wealth, the projection of power, the illusion of permanence. But time laughs at permanence. History is a long and humbling teacher, and her curriculum never changes. Pride precedes the fall. Every time. The Babylonian Empire fell. The Assyrian Empire fell. The Roman Empire fell. The British Empire fell. Each thought itself ordained by heaven, destined to rule without end. But none withstood the tide of time. Why? Because they built more monuments to their glory than bridges to their people. Because they hoarded more gold than they gave grace. Because they mistook fear for respect, and control for wisdom. And now, here we are. The empire that once declared itself the last best hope of Earth finds itself at a crossroads. The military might remains. The cultural influence lingers. But the soul? The soul has grown weary. The foundations shake with the weight of contradictions. How can a nation claim moral authority abroad while millions of its own citizens live without healthcare, without clean water, without safety, without hope? How can a system call itself the land of liberty when its prisons overflow, when its cities echo with gunfire, when its politics are poisoned by money and manipulated by media? And in the midst of this decline, what do we see? We see a man like Donald Trump rise to power, not because he created the disease, but because he diagnosed it, twisted it, and fed it back to the people like a drug. He gave voice not to solutions, but to resentments. He offered not healing, but scapegoats. Tariffs, walls, trade wars, these were not strategies for progress, they were sirens for a shipwreck. But even Trump is not the cause. He is a symptom. He is the fever that signals the infection. The sickness is deeper. It is spiritual, moral, systemic. We must recognize this, or perish in denial. You cannot tariff your way to peace. You cannot bomb your way to justice. You cannot bully the world and then wonder why it resists. This is not the wisdom of statesmen, it is the tantrum of empires in decline. But hear me now, decline is not the same as death. And death is not the same as defeat. When a tree falls, it leaves a clearing. And in that clearing, new life can grow. The end of empire can be the beginning of fellowship. The end of dominance can be the beginning of dignity. The end of fear can be the beginning of faith, not faith in flags, but faith in the unshakable truth that every human being is born with worth beyond measure. And while BRICS rises, let us not curse it. Let us learn from it. For what they seek is not dominance, but voice. Not control, but balance. They do not want a world without America, they want a world where America is no longer judge, jury, and jailer. Where sovereignty is shared. Where partnerships are possible. Can we hear that? Can we humble ourselves enough to admit that the world does not revolve around us? That we, too, must listen? That we, too, must learn? For decades, we have exported debt, war, and entertainment. But what the world needs now is for us to export empathy. To export wisdom. To export humility. To say not, do as we say, but come, let us reason together. And make no mistake, there are dark forces in every nation, east and west. There are tyrants who hide behind anti-imperial rhetoric. There are elites in every capital who serve themselves while waving the flag. There is injustice in Russia, in China, in Brazil, in South Africa, in India, yes, everywhere. But that is no excuse to blind ourselves to our own reflection. The true enemy of freedom is not the foreigner. It is the lie. It is the comfort of illusions. It is the refusal to confront reality. And reality is knocking now. It knocks at our door with every displaced worker, every overpriced medicine, every bankrupt farmer, every lonely veteran who wonders what all the sacrifice was for. It knocks at our door when the world begins to trade in currencies not backed by the US dollar. When nations forge alliances that bypass NATO. When financial systems evolve without Wall Street at the center. These are not anomalies. These are not mistakes. These are signs. And blessed are those who can read the signs of the times. For I tell you, the world is moving on. And we can either move with it or be left behind. But oh, what glory awaits those who move forward with open hands, not clenched fists. Who approach the new world not with domination, but with dedication to the common good. Do you not see it? The kingdom of empire is fading, but the kinship of humanity is rising. In Africa, solar panels light up villages that colonial powers never cared to electrify. In South America, communities reclaim their lands and their voices. In Asia, innovation and ancient wisdom walk side by side. And in these movements, I hear not the death rattle of old powers, but the birth cry of something new. This is not the apocalypse. It is the unveiling, the revealing. The apocalypse is not destruction, it is disclosure. And what is being revealed today is a truth we always knew, deep down, that no nation has the right to rule the world, and no people are expendable. And I tell you something else: if we listen, if we repent, if we turn from the gospel of empire and embrace the gospel of community, we will find something better than greatness. We will find goodness. And goodness is greater than greatness. Goodness endures when empires fall. So rise up, children of this new dawn. Rise up, not with swords but with plowshares. Not with vengeance but with vision. Rise up, and let your life be a testament to the truth that the world can be changed not by might, nor by power, but by the spirit of shared humanity.